है बादा मस्त बादा आशा में अहमदियत चलता है दौर मीना ओ जाम अहमदियत.
ठीक है. अच्छा guys, jazakallah everyone for joining. The guys I didn't get to talk to. Z, Tamur, Samar, mashallah, joining from Leamington. Arsalan as well. Mashallah, mashallah. So we've got a packed program today. Okay, Sabi, sorry. Birmingham East. ठीक ठाक है. माशाल्लाह.
जी
आज
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह
आपके जो मैरिज फोरम है ना,
जी
बस याद दिलाने के लिए.
हाँ आज नहीं मैसेज कर दिया मैंने दोबारा भी अभी फोन करवा दिया
we all need a refresher course sometimes, है ना.
हाँ जी बिल्कुल मैंने कहा सारे शामिल हो जाएं जो मैरिड अनमैरिड सारे ही आ जाए
जी जी जी. I think today is who is it? East, South, and Southeast.
आई थिंक
Southwest.
सेंटर मेरा ख्याल है तीन
Like
जमातों की
East, I don't think the East is just you, Zaryab, and Osama on the call today, no?
जी साउथ वेस्ट साउथ और ईस्ट है आज
How many Khuddam do you have in your majlis?
50
50.
हाँ जी
50 में से 3 आते हैं
चलो
Khuddam night.
इंशाल्लाह आहिस्ता आहिस्ता आ जाएंगे बाकी भी
इस प्रोग्राम के बाद इंशाल्लाह मैरिज प्रोग्राम के बाद आ जाएगा इंशाल्लाह. Inshallah. ठीक है guys. So we have a bit of a packed program today, guys. I don't know if you guys saw the PDF file that I sent around. Inshallah, we're going to have Friday sermon, a quick summary. I think Summer will be doing it today. MashaAllah, Summer is stepping up from Leamington. We're going to have Khuddam News with Daniel, Allegation Corner with Hamza, whenever Hamza decides to tune in. And we also have Saqib. We're going to have our third week of Haqiqatul Wahi, so that'll be halfway through the book. So we do encourage everyone to try and read the book before Khuddam night starts, just 20 pages a week. Haqiqatul Wahi is the book which was approved by Beloved Huzur. So it would be really good for you guys to start reading that as well, to just catch on the blessings as well. And then we're going to have Kahoot as well in Zaryab. And then lastly, a really interesting talk and a new segment, which is going to be, inshallah, a permanent segment in Khuddam night. Still thinking of a name for it, but we've come up with one, K-Fit, with Osama Saifullah. And that will basically try to promote healthy living and fitness amongst the Khuddam, and try to have a weekly sessions going on, or weekly motivation or plans for each of you that you can start doing throughout the week, and then we'll just assess it every Friday and see where everyone's at. So that's the plan for today. Inshallah, we'll get to each of those when the time comes. But as always, we always start with the Friday sermon. So I think, Samir, if you're able to share your screen, if you can take us through what Hazur spoke about today in the Friday sermon.
Salam. Speaking about Hazrat Usman Razallahu Anhu, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Ayyadullah stated, when the Holy Prophet ﷺ departed for the battle of Zat Itrika to fight the Ghaffan tribe, he appointed Hazrat Usman as the Emir of Medina in his absence. The Holy Prophet ﷺ was accompanied by 700 people. No fighting took place. This was the first time when the Muslims offered Salat al-Ghaffar, prayers offered while being engaged in warfare. At the time of the conquest of Mecca, with the exception of 4 men and 2 women, the Holy Prophet ﷺ had announced a general amnesty for all Meccans. Ikrimah, son of Abu Jahl, was also among these 4 men. It is narrated about him that he escaped Mecca and tried to flee in a ship. When he was faced with a storm, he prayed to Allah to save him, and he will return and perform the bed of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. The more well-known narration states that his wife was able to get to him before he boarded the ship and told him that the Holy Prophet ﷺ had forgiven him. After he took the bed, the Holy Prophet ﷺ asked him to to ask for whatever he desired. Hazrat Ikrimah Radhiyallahu anhu said to pray for his forgiveness for his acts of hostility towards the Holy Prophet ﷺ. The Holy Prophet ﷺ prayed for him. One of these four men convicted at the time of the conquest of Mecca was Abdullah bin Said bin Abi Sarah. He sought refuge of Hazrat Usman anhu. Hazrat Usman later brought him to the Holy Prophet ﷺ and appealed for his forgiveness and asked him to take his bet. After some hesitation, the Holy Prophet ﷺ did so. Hazrat Khalif al-Masih explained many historical aspects associated with this incident and its background. Hazrat Usman anhu presented innumerable financial sacrifices at the time of the Battle of the Book. Muslims were greatly in need. The Holy Prophet ﷺ made an appeal. Hazrat Usman caravan of 100 camels was ready to depart for Syria. Instead, he presented it to Holy Prophet ﷺ. The Holy Prophet ﷺ made another appeal. Hazrat Usman anhu represented 100 more camels and then did so the third time after another appeal of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. The Holy Prophet ﷺ at this time said, no matter what Usman does after this, he will not be held accountable by God. Hazrat Usman anhu represented financial sacrifices on many occasions. At one such time, he presented 200 ounces of gold to the Holy Prophet ﷺ. The Holy Prophet ﷺ once prayed in these words, O Allah, be pleased with Usman as I am pleased with him. Hazrat Muslim anhu states that at different times the companions of the Holy Prophet ﷺ presented their household items and their property for the welfare of other Muslims. Once a water well was being sold, Muslims were in need. The Holy Prophet ﷺ remarked that, is there anyone who will earn this reward? Hazrat Usman anhu replied that, O Prophet of Allah, I am present for this. He bought it and gave it to be used by Muslims. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, Usman has bought the paradise. There were 3 such incidents in the life of Hazrat Usman anhu, where the Holy Prophet ﷺ remarked that he brought paradise in exchange of his services. Once the Holy Prophet ﷺ said to Hazrat Usman anhu that God will grant you a shirt with the hypocrites will try to take it off you. However, you should never let go of it. This foretold about the Khilafat of Hazrat Usman anhu. Hazrat Khalifa Abdul-Masih mentioned the services of Hazrat Usman anhu during the era of Hazrat Abu Bakr anhu and Hazrat Umar anhu. Before his passing away, Hazrat Umar anhu made a 7-member committee for his election of the next caliph. This committee consisted of Hazrat Ali, Hazrat Usman, Hazrat Talha, Hazrat Zubair, Hazrat Saad, Hazrat Abdur Rahman, Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar, only for consultation, not eligible to be elected. After detailed discussion and consultation, the president of the committee, Hazrat Abu Rahman, nominated Hazrat Usman anhu as the Khalifa. In the end, Hazrat Khalifa al-Masih urged prayers for Ahmadis of Pakistan.
Jazakumullah Samir, mashallah, very well read, and a good recap of what Hazur said today. Like I said, sometimes we get busy while Hazur is talking, especially now we're at home. So maybe we don't grasp everything that Hazur said. So it's always nice to get a recap or some glimpses of what Hazur said. If you didn't get to watch it, there's nothing that can replace watching the whole thing. So please do try to go back over it if you missed it. Especially if you're at school, or if you have lessons going on at the same time. Samir, if I can quickly ask you, if you, I know you must have heard it as well, but you also read the presentation. So was there anything that maybe stuck out for you, or maybe one thing that you didn't know before, which you which you learned this time in the Friday sermon?
I actually haven't watched it yet, so
We were just by reading the presentation, were you able to learn something which maybe you didn't know?
that Hazrat Usman gave a lot of money or sacrificed a lot. Sorry.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good point. It was with the quality of many of the Khulafa and companions, but in particular with Hazrat Usman, he was known to be a very wealthy man. But as you know, when they all accepted Islam, many of them, gave everything that they had to the cause of Islam. So it's a great point. Jazakumullah, Samir. Nice hearing your voice as well. Hopefully, we can hear more of it in future programs. So Jazakallah for your humble effort in presenting this week's Friday summary to all of us. Jazakumullah. So next, Hamza, if we can go to you next, because we're just waiting on Daniel. He's out doing a bit of grocery shopping.
Oi.
Jazakallah, Hamza, for mashallah. So it seems like you're still in the cave.
I got no one to impress Murabi Sab. Can't find a rishta.
Hopefully after the marriage forum you got someone.
Say that again.
Saying hopefully after that marriage forum you attended, you'll find someone.
Nah, man. No one wants me, man. No one wants me.
Hamza, just for the sake of people joining for the first time, could you just introduce Allegation Corner to everyone?
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So again, Allegation Corner was initially founded by Nasser and Murabi Saab. Just having conversations between themselves and just the Warsaw Khuddam about frequently occurring allegations either against Prophet Islam or against Ahmadiyyat. I think the common one we always know is things like the concept of Khatm Nabuwwat, the seal of the prophets, the last of the prophets, those sorts of things, and just trying to find out the information, do the research, and make like a comprehensive presentation on the topic, which can then be, we can learn from, and then give those responses to our friends, to any non-Ahmadi contacts that we might have. So that was the purpose of it. And today, going alongside that same theme, there was a YouTuber from, I think it was a month or two ago now.
Yeah, it's gone quiet. We don't know about
him. Say that again?
I think it's gone quiet now, isn't it, after that?
Yeah. He does loads of videos and other things as well. But anyway, his name was Smile to Jannah. He made a lot of different allegations against Hazur, his pronunciation of the Holy Quran, and various things about the Prophet Islam. And there were 3 prophecies in particular that he mentioned. One we went over last time, Dr. Abdul Hakim, one of the opponents of the Prophet Islam. Today is another one, Sanawala Amritsari. And then the third one, it's quite a famous one that the Jamaat has already addressed, which was Muhammadi Begum and the prophecy related to her. So they're things that have been addressed before. These, if you research these yourself, you'll find the evidence base for them from like 20, 30, 40 years ago, but they're recycled the same thing again and again. But it's nice just to come together and try and clarify some of them really. So as mentioned, this one's about Sanawala Amritsari. And in the YouTube video, Smile to Jannah says that the Prophet Islam challenged him, saying whoever is wrong should be afflicted by the plague, cholera, or something similarly painful, and whoever is the liar should be punished or die in the lifetime of the truthful. Again, on the surface, this shows the lack of truthfulness of the Prophet Islam because he died in May 1908, and the Sheikh Sanawala, he went on to live for another 40 years or so. But in actual fact, we know this isn't the case. So just a bit of background. So Sanawala was the editor of a weekly journal, Ahle Hadith, and like others, he was passionately opposed to the Prophet Islam. And in 1897, a book called Anjam Athim, the Prophet Islam challenged Sanawala and various other scholars to a mubahala, or a prayer duel. At this point in time, the Prophet was about 62 years old and Sanawala was about 29 years old. So Sanawala initially ignored this challenge altogether until 5 years later, until 1902. And then he responded with his own mubahala, or his own prayer duel, to which the Prophet responded right here at the bottom. I have seen the announcement of Sanawala in which he claims that he has a sincere desire that he and I should pray that the one of us who is in the wrong should die in the lifetime of the other. He then further goes on to say, this is the Prophet Islam, If he is sincere in his challenge, the one who is untruthful should die before the truthful one, then surely Sana'ullah will die first. Then Sana'ullah responded with his own hasty retreat in nervousness and anxiety. I neither am, nor do I claim like you that I am a prophet or a messenger, or a son of God or a recipient of revelation. I cannot therefore dare enter such a contest. Your purpose is that I should die before you. You will proclaim that as a proof of your righteousness, and if you pass on before me a good riddance, then who will go to your grave and hold you to account? That is why you put forward such a stupid proposal. I therefore regret that I dare not enter into such a controversy, and this lack of courage is a source of honor and not humiliation for me. So basically, the initial mubahala that he initiated himself, he now went back on it, and he didn't want to enter into that contest with the Prophet ﷺ. But his refusal, because of his very infamous journal club, Ahl Hadith, he had a lot of pressure from his colleagues because it was a source of embarrassment also for him, because it was quite publicly shown that he had rejected this initial mubahala. Then 5 years later, now we're into 1907, he then proposed a challenge to the whole of the Ahmadiyya movement at the time. Again, in relation to the Prophet ﷺ, who has challenged us to a mubahala in his book Anjam Atham, and compel him to confront me, for as long as there's no final decision with the Prophet, nothing can bind all of his followers. Then the Prophet ﷺ promptly responded in Journal Badr on the 4th of April 1907, basically again saying that he accepts the challenge. He then goes on to say, he should therefore solemnly declare that the Hazrat Ahmad ﷺ has fabricated his claim. He should then pray that if he, Maulvi Sana'ullah, has lied in his utterance, then the curse of God shall befall the liar. So on this slide, the main thing is Sana'ullah, again, he backed out, and he basically said that he had taken an oath, a unilateral oath on one side, basically. So what he wanted to do was invoke his curse on the Prophet ﷺ, but he didn't want the Prophet ﷺ to invoke his curse on Sana'ullah, so he wanted to be one-sided. So again, he shifted from his original position, where he demanded the Prophet ﷺ to confront him. He shifted from that position to say, no, I only want an oath to say that you're a liar, so to speak. So again, he's gone back on his initial stance. Then, realizing that Sana'ullah wasn't going to really take any firm position on it, the Prophet ﷺ then issued the following statement, and he issued it publicly as a prayer to God Almighty, that he decide the matter between me and Maulvi Sana'ullah Sahib, and cause the real mischief monger and liar to die in the lifetime of the one who is truthful. This announcement was sent to Sana'ullah to publish in his journal Ahl Hadith. He then responded with his own document, saying that this proposal wasn't acceptable to him, and that no sane person would agree to such a challenge. So again, he rejected the offer, and he didn't want to have it published. He then added to this, saying, I cannot be deemed to be a party to this challenge because my consent regarding this prayer has not been taken, and its contents have been published without my consent. So again, he's not willing to enter into a mubahala or any other form of duel or distinction between himself and the Prophet ﷺ. He then goes on to say, probably more than anything else because of fear, that he doesn't want that mubahala because of past examples like Dr. Alexander Dowie and others whose falsity, so to speak, was proven by the Prophet ﷺ, saying that if he dies, what good will it produce? Saying this doesn't make the Prophet ﷺ truthful. So he then says, completely rejecting that initial stance, show me a sign that I may see myself. If I die, what can I see? So he wants some form of sign of truthfulness of the Prophet ﷺ, not related to who dies first. And then he makes a new criterion altogether. This is pretty much what he said, that he goes to the Holy Quran and he looks at various verses saying, evildoers are granted respite, i.e. the gracious one grants respite to those who are in error, so that they might multiply their sins and that they may flounder in transgression. So the point being that based on Sana'ullah's own verdict, his own interpretation, all these clearly mean that God Almighty grants respite and bestows long life on liars so that they may increase in sins. So then this is his own new criterion. And in order to establish the validity of this criterion, he uses the example of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, again, who we know to be the seal of the prophets, and Musaylima, who was a false pretender or claimant of prophethood. But we know from historical accounts, Musaylima lived beyond the lifetime of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the liar survived and the truthful person died earlier. So in response to this, again, the Prophet ﷺ, ever willing to prove his truthfulness, completely agreed to this statement, saying the Maulvi has now suggested a completely different measure, that the liar should live longer than the truthful person, just as happened in the case of Musalma Kazab and the Holy Prophet ﷺ. So thus, in accordance with his own criteria that he put forward, he showed his own dishonesty and his own falsehood, as obviously he went on to live longer, 40 years longer than Prophet ﷺ. And in that time, he would have seen Khalifa, the first Khalifa, may Allah be pleased with him, and Khalifa Sani Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu as well. And he would have seen the progress and the Jamaat continue to grow. And just an added note in terms of those like Smalta Jannah who say he lived a happy life, a joyous life for the next 40 years. This is the reality of it. So within the next 40 years, he received an edict of heresy and apostasy against him from the ulama of Makkah. His own people in India, following on from this edict, they deserted him. And the divines of Makkah went on to say, it is neither permissible to obtain knowledge from Maulana Sanaullah nor follow him. His evidence cannot be accepted, nor can he lead the prayers. There is no doubt regarding his heresy and apostasy, and that he is a misguided person who has invented innovations and doctrines in Islam. So initially as well, he was worth millions. He was a very wealthy man in India. During the partition between India and Pakistan in 1947, his house was looted and burnt to the ground, and he died in a state of extreme poverty. His own son, Ata'ullah, he was actually mercilessly killed in front of him in his own eyes. His own biographer of his life goes on to say that all of these incidents proved to be the cause of his hasty and miserable death. So in actuality, his prophecy was incorrect. He proved himself to be a liar, and he went on to live, unfortunately, quite a sad life with a sad ending as well. So that's the reality of it, against all of those who claim otherwise, really. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah, brilliant. Fully dissected that whole allegation, mashallah, from start to finish. Hamza, why do people make this allegation? Why do you think it's so common that they keep raising this one?
I guess they've seen it. It's like common things occur commonly. So you've heard people make the allegation before, because where I got the source for these prophecies was from a book written in 1980. So these are things that are over 40, 50 years old. They've seen them made. They've seen them made. These allegations made. They probably haven't done their own research into actual facts of it. On the surface, they seem to be true. They haven't done their own research, and they think they've been unanswered. So then they just continue to raise the same allegation, recycled again and again. Really, it's more just following like the mainstream or the media, especially in this day and age, piggybacking off of them and just not really bothering to think for yourself and do your own research, and just going by what they say really, and not looking into it yourself.
Yeah, it's almost as if they're shooting themselves in their own feet, I think, because they target that specific audience who they know that they're not going to go and research, they're not going to go look into it. They just want the surface level of every argument and just say that's what I believe in, and I'm not going to research any further. But we've seen, and recent days have proven that those people who actually do go and research, do take that
Shakila
make the effort of looking into it. They realize that this is a recurring thing, that they're making all these false allegations, and why are they doing it? And that forces people to search more and more and more, and it builds that curiosity within people. And then they ultimately realize that actually there's something more to this. So this is why. So the one question: why was Sanaullah rejected later?
What do you mean rejected later? As in
his people? I think his own people. I think.
I don't know what you mean by the question. Well, he was rejected later. I don't know the time scale of when. Is there a reference of when it happened? There will be, but I'm not exactly sure what. I'm not exactly sure what he did that made him made those edicts of that he's apostate, that he shouldn't be considered as a reliable, trustworthy. I'm not exactly sure what he did, but something related to innovation or bringing a false teaching into Islam, I think.
It would be interesting because
Yeah.
it means that he built such a reputation about himself that anything he was saying wasn't true, or he was misguiding people.
So I'm not. To be fair, I'm not sure what he did. To be honest.
Yeah. Anyways, it doesn't really matter because we saw. I mean, you see how his end was, and it was just a sign again of truthfulness of the promised Messiah. Many people try to attack him and fabricate lies against him. And it doesn't matter if they pass away or even live on after the Hazrat Masih Maud. You see who Allah chooses to be close to him in the end. Brilliant, Jazakumullah Hamza. Have we got another one for next time you come?
Yeah, that one will be the Muhammadi Begum one, inshallah. I know it's been. If you guys just look at the YouTube videos by Umar's brother Tahir, he did a really good one, a really comprehensive one on it. The Murabbi from America, I can't remember his name. The guy translates everything, top guy who translates everything. You know his name, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Do I?
Yeah. Him. He did one on it as well. So the content's already out there. So we guess we don't need one, but it'll be good to just make.
No, we do. Because it's something which can be confusing if we don't talk about it.
I'll put the links in as well when I make it next time, so you guys can look at their videos.
We'll be reading before we come.
Yeah.
You get homework set by Hamza Sab. Blame him, not me. Hamza, brilliant. So do watch out for that. Every 2 weeks, Hamza comes on and delivers a small presentation.
Boys, put some messages in the group, man. Get Nasa on the other week, man. Get him on, man. Put some pressure on him. It's bomb, man. Put some pressure on him.
We need to. Inshallah, we'll find a way, inshallah. Jazakallah Hamza, brilliant. If I can go now to Saqib. So along with the theme of Hazrat Masih Maud, as I said, we continue with the book. So we're just trying to get all the formalities out of the way. But these are really important things as well. So it's good to do it on a regional level, that we all do it together. And wherever you're sitting in your bedroom or downstairs, it's good just even listen to what people have to say, because this knowledge is something which Hazrat Masih Maud came and taught us, which is directly from God. So do give an ear to it. And the brothers bring a lot of effort into making the presentations, and there's a lot of reading that goes on as well. So you guys are getting the tip of the iceberg, but it's better than nothing. But we do encourage everyone to also read the book as well, which is a fantastic book, and it is in English. Hazur is continuously saying that all the material that is in English now, like Al-Hakam, for example, that we should be getting our teeth stuck into it and start reading them as well. So if I can bring Saqib, could you come on and give the third part of our Haqiqatul Wahi presentations, please?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum. In his own words, this is the continuation from last week or the week before that. I've done 3 more questions. But yeah. So as we know, the book is a complete book, published in Urdu and in English, like Murabbi Sahib just said. The pages that was given to do was 181 to 122. Today, I'll be focusing on questions 3 till 6 in this presentation. We know all this. Question 3. The contradiction between the references. So the third question, which states, Abdul Hakim says that faith based upon only upon natural instinct is something accursed. Some of the substance of what the promised Messiah has written in that is that faith which is not acquired through the messenger of Allah and only exists in the case where human nature feels need for the existence of God Almighty, as in the faith of philosophers generally ends up accursed. Since such faith is not free from darkness, those people soon slip from their faith into atheism. Accursed means the only something that's under a curse. This happens when the people start to emphasize on the law of nature, and more so they are accompanied by the light of the prophethood and enter the life of darkness. Entering the darkness, that means they're misguided. Hundreds of heavenly signs carry out into the point that God does indeed exist. Therefore, the fact of the matter is that faith in the prophets, peace be upon them, belief in God can only be sustained so long as one believes in the messenger. What is more important is that when faith is the messenger is lost, faith in God also suffers a blow, and mere belief in the oneness of God readily leads one astray. For this reason, he states that faith, the Promised Messiah states, faith based upon only natural instinct is accursed. Real faith is the only that faith which is acquired after recognizing the messenger of God. Such faith knows no decline, nor does it have an evil end. Question 4 states that in your earlier books, this is someone saying that to the Promised Messiah. In earlier books, it is written that the prophecies of earthquakes, wars, and famines can hardly be referred to as a prophetic, but only as it has been noted in a number of writings that your honor has acclaimed that these very prophecies be grand prophecies. The promised Messiah counters argues such a claim. He says that such accusations are not correct, that he has pronounced those very prophecies to be grand, yes. Greatness or lack of greatness of anything is indicated by its quantity and quality, and also by the accompanying circumstances being unique or ordinary. But in view of the circumstances of the country about which we foretold the plague and the terrible earthquakes, these prophecies are indeed grand prophecies. As for the earthquakes, that was also not an ordinary prophecy on his part. Rather, the prophecy contained the words that a section of the country would be destroyed by it. Country being Kashmir and India. Question 5 was now you have designated the recent earthquakes in San Francisco and elsewhere as a sign in your support. One fails to understand how these earthquakes have been caused by the rejection of your claim. He says that he has never said that all these earthquakes in San Francisco and other places has been caused only because of the rejection of his claim, and that no other factor has played any role in it. It states in the Quran, it is not necessary for a person who is punished for his earliest sins to be aware that a prophet or a messenger of Allah has been raised in the world in that age. He follows, in the Quran it states, yes, this is what the line means. He follows the right way follow it only for the good of his own soul. And he only um, goes astray only to his own loss. And no bearer or burden shall bear the burden of another. We never punish until we meet, or we have, no. We never punish until we have sent a messenger. Surah Bani Israel, chapter 7, verse 16. Continue, question 5. Now you have designated, never mind. In another Quranic verse, it says, do they not see that we are visiting the land, reducing it from its outlying borders? And Allah judges, there is none to reverse his judgment, and he is swift at reckoning. Surah Ar-Ra'd, chapter 13, verse 42. The statement of mine contains the answer of objection raised by some ignorant people. Often it happens so that the real culprits, who are the actual source of mischief and are called after, just as Pharaoh reminded, are unharmed by the signs of divine wrath, which Hazrat Musa showed in his presence. Only the poor perished, but in the end, God drowned Pharaoh along with his hordis or his companions. The statement of mine or his contains the answer of the objections raised by some ignorant people who alleged that it was the Molvis who had pronounced the verdict of disbelief, but the poor who died of the plague and thousands belongings to the hills of Kangara and the mountain of Pagush perished in the earthquake. Question 6. Your exalted holiness has written at thousands of places that it is not legitimate in any way to declare anyone who recites the kalma, the declaration of the faith in Islam, and faces towards Qibla as a disbeliever. The promised Messiah's views on that is it is strange that they consider the one who pronounces him to be a disbeliever and the one who does not believe in him as two different kinds of people, whereas in the estimation of God there is only one kind. For one who does not believe in him and does so for his very reason that they consider him to be an imposter. But Allah the Exalted says that one who forges a lie against God is the greatest disbeliever from among the disbelievers. Who is then most unjust than he who forges a lie against Allah or gives the lie to his signs? It is these who shall have their laws ordained till when our messengers shall visit when to take away their souls. They shall say, where is that which you sent to call upon beside Allah? The answer will be, we cannot find them, and they will bear witness against themselves that were disbelievers. Surah Al-Araf, chapter 7, verse 38. This verse means that there are only two kinds of arch disbelievers: one who forges lies against God, and the other who denies the word of God. Jazakallah.
Tika, Jazakumullah, Saqib, brilliant stuff, and a lot of questions there, and a lot of it is spiraling off the allegation corner. So it's actually really good and it's in tune with what we're doing already. So these are all real allegations which were written and during the time of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi. So you can see how he himself would get these allegations, he would make them into questions, and he would answer them as well. So it's really befitting to us to see that, and also a lesson that how we can also get all of these allegations, just like Hamza's doing as well. He's getting the question and then giving the answers as well. So this is in line with how our Jummah tackles it. So Jazakumullah Saqib, brilliant. Saqib, is there any one thing that you probably want to share with us that maybe you learned this time? I know there's so many things when you just even read one page of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu, you can pick out so many things. But from the 20 pages, is there anything that stuck out for you?
It was the whole concept of the earthquakes that in San Francisco, that Promised Messiah, had his prophecy that there was going to be an earthquakes of such, either in Kashmir or San Francisco. That hit me. I was like, okay, that's really interesting that he was from all the way from the other side. He could actually judge or see a prophecy that there'll be an earthquake there. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting to even know that, back in early 1900s or before that someone from Qadian, a small village, could even know what San Francisco is or where it is. So even that's an incredible point. So yeah, anything to do with the prophecies of the Prophet ﷺ is always so amazing, and to know that Allah told him all of this in advance and to warn the people. Just that in itself is something which is so incredible. So Jazakallah guys, every week we try to cover the book, and inshallah we have 3 more weeks and then we'll cover the section which is approved by Beloved Huzur. So it's a great achievement. Zaryab was already logging into his to his Kahoot. Just before that, I just want to fish out one of the Khuddam which is on today. His name is Jalis Hamid. Jalis, can I bring you on for a second? Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm currently eating right now, actually.
I was gonna say put your camera on, but I won't put you to shame for now.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe next week if we have you next week. How are you doing?
I'm alright, alhamdulillah. Yeah, all good.
I'm guessing this is your first time here on Khuddam night after all these.
It is indeed, yeah.
One
It's really
year.
good, mashallah. I know, yeah.
Where have you been?
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it should be put out more to the local Khuddam groups. I don't think it's actually been posted in our local Khuddam group. So
Yep.
yeah.
It's good you told us. So inshallah we'll work more on
yeah.
that. Which
I think,
are you from?
Birmingham Southwest. Also Amar Khan told me to join. I think I was talking to him a few weeks ago.
How does Amar Khan, the boy from East London, know everyone in Midlands?
I know. But yeah,
That's good, man. It's good. Inshallah, we'll have you as a regular.
inshallah.
Try to tune in and encourage the guys in Southwest. Is it Jamal Chukta, your guide?
Zishan
Oh,
is up
Zishan.
for sub. Yeah, I'll post it in the groups anyway.
Yeah, you'll
It's
be
really,
my
it's really, really informative, mashallah. So yeah,
Exactly. Inshallah, we'll have you come on and give a talk as well.
we'll see about that.
Okay, so now we're going to have a coot. Well, usually we have coot at the end, but because we have the talk as well today on keeping fit during lockdown, we're going to have coot now, and then we'll go to Khuddam news, and then we'll have our talk at the end, inshallah. So if you do join, 2922364 is the code. Do try to jump on. We have a lot of competitors. Leamington Spa in particular are very strong in this. So let's see. It's going to become a regional challenge. See who comes out on top. So do join and take part. These questions, Zaria, I'll bring you in now. If you can give us a little taste of what we're gonna look forward to.
Yeah, Assalamualaikum, boys. Before anything, I'm gonna say something loyal to my department. So everyone from East, South, and Southwest, I've put the team's link. I'm sure your guide sent it at 7 o'clock. Please join me. I'm sure the people that had it yesterday found it very informative. So today's quiz is about world currency, and obviously then you have the dean in there as well. So let's go in.
So you're gonna steal some of my Khuddam away from me.
Bro, you should have gave them to me, to be fair, but okay, so there's 15 questions today because no one sent me any, so and it's a good thing as well with the time.
Yeah, everything's for a reason. So guys, while you're eating your food or while you're sitting on your beds or while you're locked in your homes, do take part in the quiz. It's a lot of fun and you'll learn a few things as well.
Okay, so when did the euro currency come into use?
96, 85, 2000, 2002. The year 2000 seems so long away now.
85.
Okay.
It was actually, the euro currency came in 2002, so you know,
got it right.
Who was that? Oh,
what does that even mean, the euro currency?
So the euro currency, before the European countries had their own currency, and then they made one for the whole European Union.
Oh, okay, okay.
Then they started using euros.
I only know this because I grew up in Belgium. That's the only reason I knew.
Okay. What was the German currency before euros? German franc, German dollar, German mark, German krona.
Corona.
Okay, yeah, it was German mark, franc, and Belgium.
Got a few guys from Germany here, don't we?
Oh.
So you're from Germany as well, aren't you?
I came when I was 4, so no, I'm not.
You're born German, man. You understand everyone else.
Who was the son of Abu Jahl who accepted Islam?
Summer gave the clue in his presentation.
Majid's back on the run. Okay. So which narration did Hazur say about the Holy Prophet ﷺ is proved to be false? So which of these does Hazur say today that is proved to be false, but it is a narration?
Actually came up with 4 options.
Yeah. So there was a narration that why did the Holy Prophet ﷺ said to the companions, why didn't you kill Abdullah bin Abi Sarh? But that is proved to be false. That did not happen. Question 5. Who is on the Chinese currency note? So who is on the Chinese currency note?
Do you want to try saying
Sean Lee, Mao Zedong.
King German.
I was going to put Jackie Chan on there as an option, but I reckon it's too easy.
Russia. Yeah.
Mao Zedong was the leader of the Chinese Communist Revolution. So
No.
he is now on there. Oh, no. How do people know this, man? I did not know that. What is the subunit of Japanese yen? So what is the penny of the Japanese yen?
Penny.
Pence and pound, yen and
Yens and
yeah. So their pennies are, so 100 sen make 1 yen. Or this Japanese brother.
You're taking us to China, man. Fulfilling that police seeking knowledge from
At what point in temperature are Celsius and Fahrenheit equal to each other? So there comes a point in temperature where the same amount of Celsius equals the same amount of Fahrenheit. Yeah, it's minus 40. So minus 40 Celsius is also minus 40
You got that right, man.
Fahrenheit.
Oh, Majid, of course he did.
Majid. This guy needs to go on tipping point or something, man. So the garment the Holy Prophet ﷺ mentioned to Hazrat Usman anhu was a sign of his bravery in battles. True or false?
Mine hasn't refreshed. What's going on?
Yeah, it was a sign of his khilafat, not him being Khalifa, not bravery of battles. Oh, Majid.
I can't answer the questions. It's not changing on my app.
Who's Shabazz? Shabazz, reveal yourself.
Which of these is a barramundi? An insect, a fish, a mammal, or a bird?
Barramundi. Where are you getting these questions from, man? Oh, God. You've taught me life lessons in this past year.
Yeah, barramundi is actually a fish. It's actually a type of sea bass.
Is that the fish you bought today?
No, today was banga fish. That was for one of my mates. Oh, it was for Barzik.
Oh, chacha, mashallah.
What was the feature of facial hair that the Holy Prophet ﷺ removed? Is it hair on the neck? Hair on... Sorry, this was meant to be... I don't know what this was meant to be.
Hair on the move. Still makes sense.
Yeah, mustache hair that comes over the lips, so as is to be trimmed and gives a nice clean look.
Guys who have got hair, please trim your tashes. Make it neat. Don't shave it all off. Don't go too.
Yeah. Don't look like a Molvi. The Queen's husband, Duke of Edinburgh, is of what ethnicity?
Duke of Edinburgh. What's the name?
Prince Philip.
Philip.
Pakistani.
He's German, isn't it?
He's Greek, yeah.
They've got some Pakistani in them.
What is the longest surah after Surah Al-Baqarah?
Nisa. Nisa.
Yeah, it's Surah Al-Nisa, and then it's Surah Al-Imran. Al-Imran comes third. So, ooh. The ones that got it right were two down. Right, 2 points. So, translation of Rizukni, the prayer between the two sajda. What is the last part? Meaning of the last part for Rizukni?
Rizq.
Provide for me, Khuddam.
Rizq ata farmaye.
Yeah, a lot of people got that. Provide for me. Yeah, Rizukni. So we don't even need to, in sajda we can ask for more money.
Big jump, big jump.
Big jump.
I didn't expect to go that quickly. Humbled himself.
Fill in the blank. When a man is burdened with hardships and troubles, he stands in need of getting his requirements filled. It is only his through which it can be revealed. Obviously, they all make sense, but which one did the Promised Messiah say in Multazad Volume 1?
Could be anything. repentance I'm going for.
Taqwa. So in Wolf's eyes, actually, is only who's taqwa which he can.
Oh, that was bad. Oh no, there I go.
And the last question. When was Noah's Ark by the Promised Messiah Islam first published? So I'm just getting a call from RQ.
They're all wrong. It was in 18, not 19.
Oh, some a big man. Big words there. Zuriab left as quick as he could.
Oh, it was 1902. Got it right.
Yeah. Of course, it can't be the other ones, maybe. Shabazz, oh, he dropped. Means Birmingham West.
Yeah.
Win it again.
Who is this? Who is this?
Must be Zishan. Oh, the Osama.
Yes, Osama, comeback season.
Osama,
okay, then, boys. Please, East, South, and Southwest, please leave Rabbi Saab, snake him, and join this team's meeting.
No, you don't have to leave. Just open another device and listen in, please.
Yeah, actually, you can just join from Teams, innit? So, yeah, if you, unless you can join tomorrow. It's all about getting the right Wi-Fi and having a nice, healthy relationship. So, see you later, boys. I'm sure Omar enjoyed it. He's smiling. He had it yesterday.
Want another dose, then go for it. One's never enough.
Boys.
Congratulations to you, Osama. That's a good introduction to your talk, I think. Exercise takes you. I think you did well last week as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I was coming third and fourth. Fifth on one, 3 last week, didn't we?
Must have had a good workout today. MashaAllah. Just before we go to you, Osama, I just want to bring in Sabur quickly. Sabur, how are you doing?
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah, I'm just driving now, but yeah.
No worries. It's the beauty of Khuddam that you can join us from wherever you are. Sabur, I know your line isn't the best, but we just wanted to bring you in just to see how your father's doing, Rabbi Farsad, and how, if you can give us a little update on his health, please.
Alhamdulillah, spoke to him yesterday. He's okay. It's just they've done a scan on him yesterday. He's still waiting for the results. So that's what we just to check whether there was any blood clots on his lungs. That's what the thing is for. The scans are for. So still waiting for results really. So request prayers, inshallah, that everything goes well.
Yeah, guys, do pray for Marabil Fast. I mean, he's been in hospital for quite a few days. Obviously, his own family can't really go and see him due to the condition, so it makes it that a little bit more difficult. But he's a man of great hope and a man who trusts in Allah a lot, and he'll come out of it strong, inshallah. But do keep him in your prayers, and inshallah he comes back to Dar Barakat fully fit and start leading namaz again. On top of that as well, with if you guys knows Shakil Muhammad, the guy who just did bed recently, he wasn't able to join today. It's because his mother also was just contracted with coronavirus and tested positive. So please also keep his family in your prayers as well, and pray for his family a lot. And this guy is, mashallah, is very mukhlis, pious boy. Who does? I sat down with him yesterday and we wrote our first letter to Azur together for him. And the whole time I was showing him videos of Islamabad and showing him Huzur living there and everything, and mashallah, he was really inspired by it. And one of his only thing that he wrote that came from him was to ask Huzur pray that one day he gets the chance to meet him. So inshallah, may Allah make that prayer of his be accepted as well. Inshallah, all of us as well, man, not just him. Inshallah, all of us get to see Huzur again, man. Missing him daily. We took that for granted, man. I think we should have done it a lot more. We should have gone to Islamabad a lot more and pray behind him. But now we know what we have to do, inshallah, when lockdown finishes and we have the chance. Let's go as much as we can as a region, all the Khuddam brothers together, and let's go pray behind Huzur. And really show Inni ma'aka ya Masroor. Surely we are with you, O Masroor. Jazakumullah. Tika, we have Osama now. Osama, if you can quickly jump on, we would love to see your face as well. The face of fitness. of Men's Health Khuddam night. Osama, just before we go into everything, if you could just introduce yourself as well to everyone.
Sure.
The brothers that don't know you the first time seeing you. I know you've made your mark on Kahoot already, but now you're gonna talking in a different light now. And so let's talk about your background a bit.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right. So about my background, my name's Osama Sifullah. I'm 21 years of age. Growing up, I grew up in Belgium. I lived there for 10 years. The Jamaat there was very small. We were the only MDs in the whole city. In fact, only Muslims in the city. So it was very different to how it is here. Our mosque there was a garage actually. It was a garage in one of the MD's house, and it was about 1 hour away. So that's a bit about me growing up. I moved here in 2010. After moving here, secondary school I had here, college. Now I'm at university. I work as a Thai boxing instructor, so I'm a coach. I've been working as a coach for the last 3 years. When I first started, I was the youngest coach in the Midlands. So West Midlands, I was 19 years old at the time. And it was a big challenge for me because normally you see coaches, they're normally 35 to 40 years old. That's the average age. And I was only 19, so it was a very, very big challenge. Alhamdulillah, with the help of God, came out successful. I produced 2 British champions and 3 Midlands champions. So, and still going strong. So inshallah, after lockdown, looking to make more champions. That's a bit about myself. So yeah, what me and Murabi Saab have come up with, Murabi Saab mostly, he's got a vision. He wants us to kind of integrate fitness into our activities and give it more importance, which I agree with very strongly. So we're still coming up with a name. Right now, I've got a title here, Lockdown Workout Routine, but it's probably going to be K-Fit from next week, unless Murabi Saab comes up with a better name himself. So I'll start off with the physical benefits of exercising, right? They're quite obvious, but we can overlook them sometimes. So we've got muscular strength. So with muscular strength, obviously that's obvious when you're going to exercise. The way it basically works scientifically, we've got fibers in our muscles, in case you didn't know. And what happens is these fibers, they will break down every time we work out. And then the body, it will grow the fibers back stronger because it doesn't want them to rip again. So that's the science behind it. That's the way it works. Improve posture. So a lot of us these days, especially because we're sitting down all day, our posture can become very damaged, like our shoulders are kind of rolling forwards and stuff like that. Exercise, it gets your whole core muscles engaged, so it will improve your posture. One thing improved posture really helps with is that I find that people take you a lot more serious when you're at work, at university, or you're doing a presentation, could be anything. Improved posture is always good for your body language. Psychologists here, they say that 70% of communication is done through body language, not actual verbally. So body language is very important. Bone strength, coming on to bone strength, we've all got bones, they're all strong, we all know that. But some people have weaker bones, some people have stronger bones. When you're working out, similar to what happens with your muscles, the same thing will happen to your bones. You will get microfractures and they will grow back stronger. Your bones start to calcify. Once they calcify, your bones become stronger and stronger over time. Ligament strength. So ligaments are basically, they hold 2 bones together. So you've got tendons and you've got ligaments. They're both very similar. They both work very similar as well. So ligaments here, they connect one bone to the other. So let's say you've got your shin bone, which is your tibia, and you've got your bone coming from your thigh, which is your tibia bone, femur. So those 2 will be connected through ligaments. It will make these stronger as well, which leads to less injuries and stuff like that. Okay. Then the most important one here, cardiovascular benefits. So that's your heart, basically, your heart, your veins, breathing is going to help with all of this physical exercise. This is why it's very important. Okay. Moving on, psychological benefits, which I find to be more important than the physical ones. Okay. Especially today, in this day and age. A lot of people suffer with mental illnesses, whether they're aware of it or not. So depression, anxiety, stuff like this, scientifically, is proven to boost your mood. On a scientific level, basically what happens is chemicals are released in your brain, endorphins, and they will make you happy, basically, in simple words. Decreased stress, again, that's linked to the chemicals that are released when you're exercising. There are going to be chemicals released into your bloodstream, and it basically works very similar to how, if you've learnt about kind of nicotine and stuff like that, the way they sit in your receptors and they make you happy is very similar to that. The chemicals, they'll go sit in your receptors in the brain, which will make you happy, increase dopamine, stuff like that. Increase self-esteem and self-confidence. This links again to the decreased stress. and countering depression and anxiety. It will in turn, it will increase your self-esteem, make you confident, and this is going to help you everywhere, whether it's work, whether it's studies, anything like that. Better sleep, okay? After a good workout, you're not going to have energy to stay awake. You're not going to have energy to waste your time looking at anything, okay? So I find personally it helps a lot with sleep. After a good workout, you get your solid 7 or 8 hours of sleep. I sleep a bit less, but normally the doctor says 7 hours is good. Brain boost. After working out, that's when I usually open my laptop or my computer and I do my university work. The reason for this is I've seen a difference, a very big difference as to how I study before working out and how I study after working out. This has a lot to do with kind of the chemicals which I mentioned earlier. You're able to focus more. You've got more oxygen rushing to your brain and stuff like that, which helps you learn better. Then you've got the hormonal benefits. Okay, so this is a bit deeper. The reason I've put this in here is because if you think about it, if you go back before the 20th century or the 19th century, humans, especially males, we were kind of always working physical work, right? And after the introduction of the internet, which led to males, humans, are sitting down a lot, which is not what we were initially kind of designed to do, if you know what I'm trying to say. So for this reason, in this day and age, when everything's computerized and we've got the internet to help us and we've got so many other things, it's very important to kind of integrate exercise into our day. So we're not letting go of that natural instinct to do physical work. So these are the benefits. Now, hopefully this will encourage you to work out, but just in case it doesn't, I've added in dangers of not exercising. So what happens if we don't exercise? Inactivity and being sedentary causes more deaths around the world than cigarette smoking or diabetes, according to a study published by these guys, the Lancet or Lancet, I don't know how to pronounce it. But so we can see how serious this is. We all know how much cigarettes are discouraged. We've got labels on every cigarette box, adverts as well sometimes. We've got disclaimers saying, you know, smoking can cause cancer. So we know how serious this is. Diabetes, again, we know how serious this is. It can change lives around. A lot of people suffer with it and their whole lives change. Not exercising is causing more deaths in cigarettes and diabetes, okay, which should give you kind of an idea of how dangerous not exercising can be. Your muscles weaken, lose bulk, right? So these are your physical muscles, but also the muscles you need for breathing. Now, breathing is very important. Apart from my passion for Thai boxing, because that's what I teach, I've also got a passion for cars. So if you look at it that way, you've got the engine of a car. It's got an air intake, right? The air intake is very important. Without the air intake, there's not going to be an ignition. Humans work in a very similar way. Without oxygen, without sufficient air intake, we can't function properly. Our brain, our muscles, our heart, everything will kind of slow down. When you're not exercising the muscles, the diaphragm is the muscle beneath your lungs, which is basically what you use to breathe. You're pulling air in with the diaphragm. That will weaken, which affects how you breathe, how much air you're taking in, which is going to affect your whole body. And the large muscles in your legs and your arms, they're going to obviously weaken as well. It doesn't sound too bad on the presentation, but if I explain that a bit, you've got your biggest muscle in your body is your quadricep, which is in your leg. And then obviously your arms are not as important as your legs. Your legs are very important. Then you've got the big muscles running down your back. If these weaken up, you can have very serious problems when you get into older age. You can get a hunchback. You can have slip discs, which is very painful. And it will stop you from walking. You wouldn't be able to run anymore after your 50s, after your 40s. So it's very important. High blood pressure. So exercising is going to regulate your blood pressure very well, which is very important because high blood pressure can lead to a lot of complications later on. Heart disease, your veins can they can weaken. A lot of stuff can happen if we're not taking care of ourselves. Now, this is very important as well. The last point I've put here is if you have none of these risk factors, you don't have heart disease, you don't have high blood pressure, you don't have diabetes, you don't have obesity, you don't have high cholesterol, even then inactivity can cause heart disease. So even if you've got no other underlying factors, a lack of exercise can lead to you still having complications with your heart. And your heart is basically the engine that drives your whole body, right? So very important. This is what doctors say. So for most healthy adults, the Department of Health and Human Services recommends at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity a week. Now, aerobic activity is basically activity you do above the ground. Then you've got anaerobic, which is basically your swimming and stuff like that. So aerobic activity simply means any sort of activity above the ground. So you got football, basketball. Personally, for me, it's Thai boxing. Could be anything for you. And they say 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic exercise. So moderate is your stuff like jogging, walking, maybe tennis, table tennis, stuff like that. And your vigorous exercise is going to be stuff where you're sprinting, you're getting out of breath. Okay, so that could be football, for example, because you're running a lot. Now, this is what they say. They say you can do either one. Me personally, I would recommend doing both. So you want about 150 minutes of moderate exercise where you're doing something moderate, jogging, walking, and then 75 minutes of vigorous exercise as well. The reason I say this is because we've got two types of muscles in our body. So you've got fast twitch muscles and you've got slow twitch. Yes, slow twitch muscles. And the slow twitch, that's more for your stuff you're doing all the time. So when you're walking, these are going to be engaged. You can walk for 1 hour. You won't feel tired. It's because the slow twitch muscles, they don't get tired easily. The fast twitch ones, they're used for vigorous exercise. So let's say you're picking something up from the ground, that's going to engage your fast twitch muscles. So we want to make sure we're working both of those, not just one of them. So that's why I would recommend doing both. So your 150 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise will engage your slow twitch muscles, and your vigorous exercise will engage your fast twitch muscles. So we made a little target for the week ahead. It looks like a lot here, but I'll explain it. So there's 168 hours in a week, which is a lot, believe it or not. Doctors recommend 225 minutes, which works out to be just below four hours. Okay, so out of 168 hours, just 4 hours you need to spare. Okay, which isn't a lot at all. 45 minutes a day, and you'll get your 4 hours. What I've put on here for each one of you, hopefully you'll do it, is walking and jogging, walking or jogging. So that depends on your fitness level. How fit are you? I know a lot of the Khuddam in this group chat play football regularly, so jogging shouldn't be an issue. Question of how long should we jog for? I mean, that's going to depend from person to person. Me personally, I like to jog for 3 miles, and I'll do that 3 times a week. But that just depends on you. You're going to have to see what's best for you. 100 press-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats. Okay, so that's for the week ahead until next Friday. It looks like a lot when I've put it like this, but it's not. If you work it out, you divide your week into 5 days. So you're working out 5 days out of the 7. You're just doing 20 press-ups, 20 sit-ups, and 20 squats every day. Before you do this, I'd highly recommend warming up. You can do this with star jumps, you can do it with burpees, or you can do it with a light jog for 10 minutes. The reason I'm saying warm up is because I mentioned ligaments earlier and muscles. What happens is when your body's cold, your ligaments are also very cold, and they're like an elastic band. So when an elastic band is when it's cold, it will snap very easily. So your muscles and your ligaments and your tendons, they work in the same way. You want to make sure they're nice and warm before you're actually going on to exercise. So I'd say do a little warm up and then do 20 of each. Obviously, if you can do this very easily, you can do 40, you can do 50, anything that works for you. And if it's your first time, you can break the 20 up into 3 sets or 4 sets where you're doing 5 and then you take a break. You do another 5, you take a break. Okay. Moving on from this, I've put in a verse of the Holy Quran, chapter 2, verse 196. And spend for the cause of Allah, and cast not yourselves into ruin with your own hands, and do good. Surely Allah loves those who do good. I'm just going to focus on the middle of this verse. And cast not yourselves into ruin with your own hands. Right, so this can mean a lot of things. It can mean your actions as well. So I think Murabi Sahib will have a better understanding of that. But from a sporting perspective, I would say cast not yourselves into ruin with your own hands. It can also mean don't harm your body with your own hands. And one of the ways in which you can stop from harming your body is by exercising. In another hadith, I haven't put it in the presentation, but I was reading it not long ago. There was a hadith about how your body has a right over you. So your actual body, which is yours, it also has a right over you. So you need to look after it. I'll welcome any questions now if you've got enough time, Ruby Sab.
Yeah, plenty of time, Jazakallah for great
If anyone's got any
presentation.
questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Yep.
Assalamu alaikum, Sama.
Wa alaikum assalam.
My question is that I can even get your feedback on this, Murabisa, but in Islam, any sort of sports such as boxing, MMA, martial arts, or UFC, that that means you're physically in contact with another person, and you're 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 touching another person. Is that allowed in Islam?
So just while I was making this presentation, I came across a hadith where there was a wrestler, and he was a champion at the time. He wasn't a Muslim. He hadn't accepted Islam. He was an idol worshipper, and he was a champion at the time. He was undefeated, and he came across the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. By the way, Murabi Sahib, correct me if I'm wrong anywhere, because I'm just saying it off the top of my head. So he came in contact with the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he challenged the Holy Prophet. He said, we'll have a wrestling match, and my gods are supporting me. Your God can support you, and let's see who wins. So the Holy Prophet, he agreed to the challenge, and then just with one move in the first time, he got the champion on the ground. And then the champion got up and he said, we'll go again. And then the second time, the Holy Prophet, he got him on the ground again. And then the third time again. And after the third time, the champion said to the Holy Prophet, you can take as many sheep as you want. So the Holy Prophet said, I'm not interested in your wealth, or rather you accept Islam. And then the champion, basically, he was scared of what people would say. He was like, what's my family going to say? What are the people going to say? So he never accepted Islam at the time. But this was an account of the Holy Prophet ﷺ engaging in a wrestling match. Wrestling is very different to what I do, because Thai boxing is striking. So you're actually hitting the other person. So I think there are some Muslims who say it's ethically wrong. But wrestling, we can say that the Holy Prophet done wrestling himself. So I can say that. Murabi Sahib, anything from you?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's nothing wrong with, we have physical sports every day of our lives. If there was no physical touching, then, Muhammad Ali wouldn't be the great man he was, or even in the Jamaat, with Khalifa Rabi Rahimullah taking part in Kabaddi himself, Kabaddi being a sport which is purely contact. Physical contact, you need it to strengthen your body as well. You can only go so far as to do things which are non-contact, which are by yourself. But to really strengthen your body and strengthen your mind as well, you sometimes need to have an opponent in front of you to overcome. And as someone said, it was a practice during the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Wrestling was common. Wrestling was a thing. They were living in a time of war. If they didn't have physical contact, then how would these guys go into battle? Who would they be fighting against? They can't fight against the air, can they? So they were trained for that very purpose. And how are they going to train? How are they going to train against an opponent? Of course, they had to do some sort of physical activity or physical training to firstly give them the courage to overcome the opponent, and also physically to overcome them as well. So nowadays, of course, your question is valid, but there's obviously a limit to everything. You have to look at the purpose of why you're doing it, and if you're doing it with the right intention, and if the outcome is positive. And if it's not positive, if you're just going around beating up people for no reason, of course, then it's wrong. But if you're doing it for a good intention, and if you're actually improving in your physical self, which is, again, your body, your soul needs to live in a strong body, and both go hand in hand. And the stronger your body is, the better you're giving your soul something to be in as well. And so all of these things put together, even you talk about the Holy Prophet ﷺ, he was physically very capable of many things. Even I remember an incident about when they were breaking rocks, and the companions, they couldn't do it, so they gave it to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and with one strike he said Allahu Akbar, and he managed to do that himself. And that showed how much inner power, inner strength he had. And some of you'd know, and everyone else should know as well, that when you put your mind to something, and that mind power that the Holy Prophet ﷺ had matched with his physical abilities, he was able to overcome that rock which was in front of him, which no one else could do. So all of these things combined teach us that physically there's something in that as well. There's something that we need to look at and we shouldn't ignore. And with the verse which you poured out as well, which is very fitting, I would say, your future is in your hands, and they say you are what you eat. So all of that shows us that we need to be careful how we live our life. We're all young right now, but the older ones would tell you that there's a time where your metabolic rate starts to drop, and it catches up to you, and by that time it can be too late. So now is the time to get yourselves into the routine, and make exercise. I put myself before anyone else. And this lockdown has really taught me that it's a lot more difficult when it's in your own hands, when you have to make the choice. Sometimes things are already set up, there's football and you can just go there and start playing. But when you have to make that decision, it becomes very, very difficult. And sometimes you need just a little push just to get yourself out there and start working out. So yeah, Jazakallah Sama and Umar for that question. MashaAllah. Is anyone else has any questions?
Quick thing is, could you send us a picture of the targets, please, of the 100 push-ups, the squats, and the other thing, please?
Yeah.
You want pictures of how to do it? You mean the
No,
demonstration?
no, the target itself, the numbers.
Oh, the target itself. Sure.
Yeah.
What I'll do, I'll go back a slide. If you just take a screenshot of this, and then it's all on here.
Yeah. You can also share it on the group, and then we'll push it out.
I'll do that.
That's good, actually.
I think it's amazing just to see the total. You broke it down to 20 push-ups, a day, which is it's very easy. But when you look at it, what you're accumulating throughout the week is incredible. I know jogging will be probably the hardest thing for most people. That's probably you have to gear up for it. You have to run out, do that. But the rest of it, sit-ups, star jumps, and squats and burpees. All of these things you can do within your own home. You don't need any equipment. So this is just a small encouragement for everyone, and I'm looking forward to it as well myself. I remember during the first lockdown, all of us were on it. Where everyone's doing their own little exercises and thinking we're going to keep this regular. But myself included, we sort of faded out a bit. So it's about time that we get back on it, so that we can start challenging Osama and Kahoot as well. So I just wanted to. I had a question as well. If no one else has any questions, many of us would say that we don't need exercise. We're fine. We're living our life and we're not feeling any disadvantages of not doing exercise. So what could you say to that, and what can you say to push us to maybe start doing it?
Right. So there's an example which my dad gives me all the time whenever I ask him. It's not about exercise. He's used in another context, but I can apply it here, so I'm going to say it. In Pakistan, basically, when he was younger, he lived in a small village, and they used to have wells there where they would get their water from. In the wells, there would be frogs, and the frogs would reproduce in the wells. The frog would be born there, it would live there, it would die there. And my dad always gave me the example of those frogs, that for those frogs, the well is just that well. They never come out of it. They don't know what's outside. I feel like exercise, until you do this, until you do physical exercise, you're just like the frog that's in the well. You don't know the whole world out there. That's the best way I can put it. You won't know how much it can change the way you think, how fast you are, how fast you react to things, whether they're physical things or whether it's just an idea you get in your head, whether it's a problem you're solving. I feel like exercise, it's got a lot to do with the amount of oxygen your brain gets. It is brain food, isn't it? Oxygen. So I feel like exercise it's not just going to help you physically, it's going to help you in every aspect of your life. You can learn better. That's the best way I can put it. It's like a whole different world out there. You can do everything better once you start exercising.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's something in it, because even you look at the Khulafa, even though they have such a busy routine, they always take time out. I know even with Beloved Azor, he's got a cycling machine in his home that he uses very regularly, and that keeps the mind running. And I know this because when I was in Jamia, we were studying for our final exams. If you know anything about the final exams in Jamia, it's crazy. You're studying a whole 7 years course into that, that one exam. And straight after one exam, you have the next exam the next day, and that's also covering everything you've learned in the past 7 years. And you're constantly just studying. And all of us, we got to a point where we thought, like, what are we doing? We're studying like crazy people. We're not even exercising. We're not even taking our minds off it. So what we'd do is we would go every half an hour. We'd go play table tennis. We'd go to the gym quickly, do some weights, and then we'll go back to our studies. And we realized that when we started doing that, our minds started becoming a lot more fresh, and we started learning things a lot quicker than we were if we were not doing any exercise. So that really was an eye-opener for me. So yeah, definitely there's some great benefit in doing it. So our aim, guys, obviously we can't come to your homes and start making you do them. Summer would have found it easier if it was that way. But this is a small encouragement, man. There's small targets throughout the week, which we can all do. Set reminders on your phones, and let's try see if next week we can improve on ourselves. I'm just going to go to a few of you. Anas, you used to play a lot of sport before lockdown. I remember we used to play football together as well, and maybe cricket. So has it been impacted since lockdown? And would you say that you've become more sedentary since the lockdown started? If Anas, you're there. Taking that, I take that as a no. As I have Umar, I'll go to you then. Umar, what would you say? Because I know you started developing a little belly since the lockdown started.
Yeah, no, I've always been active guy, and ever since lockdown just kicked in and COVID, in 1 year I've gained so much, and now I've got a belly. But it's been hard for me at the same time to stick to the routine, to try and keep fit. But inshallah, I'm gonna try my best to work on it, to work on my belly. So.
So, Summer, is there any tips you can give to get rid of the little belly that people start developing?
Right. So, I mean, a lot of the time, belly fat has a lot to do with posture. So, when you think it's belly fat, it's actually just you being kind of crouched forward. So that's why your rolls are showing more. A very easy way of getting rid of belly fat is just working your back muscles, and then you'll kind of stand up more straight, and your belly will look like it's a bit less. And then apart from that, obviously you got to exercise to lose the fat. That's the other side of it.
Any good back exercises you recommend?
There's something you can do at home where you just lie down flat on your belly, and what you're going to do is lift all 4 of your limbs at the same time. Right, so you're going to lift both arms and both legs at the same time. It's almost like you kind of do, if you imagine my hand as a body, you're doing this with all of your limbs. Right, that's going to engage your lower back, your upper back, everything. And you want to do about 20 reps. Take a rest for 30 seconds. 20 reps again. 30-second rest. Do 3 or 4 sets of that every day, and inshallah, your posture you'll see improvements within a week or 2.
That's good. That's good tips. I think back is something which is neglected quite a lot. A lot of our bodies concentrate on the front, which is why we get that couch potato look of leaning forward. But yeah, the back is as important as the front. I'll go to Musli quickly. Musli is a keen basketballer. Musli, has your life been impacted quite a lot since the lockdown? I know you used to play quite a lot before in school and stuff.
Yeah, I can't play basketball anymore with people. So
do you do any form of exercise?
What did you say?
I think, do you do any form of exercise while you're at home now?
Yeah, I do lots.
Yeah, would you want to share what you do?
Yeah, I've got a routine.
That's good.
So, should I say it?
Yeah, go for it. Share this.
So I'll go on the treadmill for a bit, for 10-20 minutes, and then I do 50 to 60 push-ups in sets of 10 to 15 reps. And then I've got an ab routine, and then I'll probably do 100 squats a day.
MashaAllah. 100 squats a day.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention, Muslim is also a keen. You want to get into bodybuilding, don't you? You want to go.
I'm only 16 though, so it's kind of hard right now.
Is there this misconception of when you can start bodybuilding?
Personally, myself, I started lifting weights when I was 13, and everyone used to say to me, "Stop! You're gonna
get shrunk."
Yeah, you're gonna get shrunk. So I mean, if I go back, I would probably start a bit later. I'll probably start about 15, 16. But I mean, it depends from person to person, because your early teenage years, they're very different for everyone. Some people, they'll hit puberty earlier, and some people will hit it later. It all depends on how strong your bones and how strong your muscles are. So I mean, if you feel like your bones are not strong enough to handle heavy weights, don't lift heavy, because you could damage yourself. You could get injured. I've met people that have injured themselves and they've been out for a year after making plans about, you know, I'm going to be this big next year, and then they're on crutches. So you got to be very careful. You have to learn what your body's like, what can it handle, what can't it handle. And with bodybuilding, especially heavy weights, there's a lot of injuries involved. Your knees, you know, there's your biceps can tear very easily. There are your pecs. You know, you got to take care of everything. But I mean, age-wise, it just depends from person to person, I think.
And does that also impact your height? As in, if you're in a decrease in height, or if you want to go a bit taller, but then if you're lifting weights at a very young age, for example, if you haven't hit puberty or anything.
So there's a myth that when you lift weights early, you're going to stop growing.
Yeah.
Scientifically, it's not proven. So you will still grow even if you are lifting weights. However, your spine will compress. Spinal compression is temporary. It will last a week, 2 weeks, and then after that, it will go back to normal. Growth-wise, what it can basically stunt your growth if you get injured. If you get a back injury or a knee injury, and you know you're in bed, you can't move, then it will stunt your growth. Growth has a lot to do with genetics and what you're eating. So if your diet is good and you've got good genetics, you know, you've got tall parents, then you're going to be tall. And yeah, I mean, that's it really.
Someone's asking, how tall are you?
I'm 5'8", so I'm not tall. I'm not tall myself. I'm 5'8".
I can actually testify to that because I started when I was 13 as well, Summer. And
Well,
people tell me the same, you know, don't do back exercises, don't do deadlifts and, you know, squats. You know, I'm 6'1", so I don't mind. I'm the tallest in the family. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to impact you. I was doing a lot of plyometrics training as well, especially for basketball, training to jump higher. So there's a lot of jumping involved, you know, a lot of squats involved as well. So all of these things we were doing since we were young. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it will affect your growth. It's just you have to exercise in the right way. I think that's the key thing. And if you don't do that, then you can definitely, when you're young and you don't have that experience, then you are going to injure yourself. Guys, it's almost coming to namaz time. I just want to quickly share something with you guys as we're talking about exercise. This is a book written by Khalifa Rabi Rahimullah, extremely interesting, and I'll just take you to the content page of it. It's called Steps to Exercise. So this is written by Khalifa Rabi himself, and you can see the passion that he had, not just talking about the Islamic side of it, but also like small things like this, life and hard work, and you know, things which are life lessons and how your sport and your exercise will help you so much in your life. Becoming old before being young, you know, this is a really interesting excerpt from Khalifa Sani Razillahu Anhu as well. And then no, he doesn't just stop there, he gives exercises as well, what we can do in our day. So guys, do give it a read, and maybe we should start implementing it. Summer, what do you think, into our Khuddam night as well? Just go through some bits of this book, and maybe we can learn a few things from Khalifa Rabi Rahimullah as well.
Definitely.
So amazing book, guys. Do try to read it. Al-Islam, just type in Steps to Exercise and you'll find it there. I do apologize to Daniel. Daniel did have a presentation on Khuddam News, but because of the time, if he does allow us, that we'll try to cover it in a combined session next week. But I would just like to extend my gratitude to all of you guys for sticking on. I know that the Khuddam nights are getting a bit longer, but you know, we're moving with the times and the days are getting longer as well, so we have to also extend our time as well. Jazakumullah everyone for joining. It's been a great time spending with you all. I've learned a lot. I hope you guys learned something new as well, and inshallah we'll catch up next week for the Khuddam night. So Jazakumullah for joining. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah Hafiz.
Jazakumullah for you guys taking part as well. Assalamu alaikum.